Moving now to agenda item number 10. I think you've all read this. So Mr. Gilbert's sitting in the hot seat again. This is the Flying Proms sponsorship proposal. So Ms. Gilbert, if you'd like to address us about this.
Well, I will take the item as read. Perhaps the main issue really for Council to understand is that our assessment of the information given to us is that if you do choose to underwrite this event, because you see the breadth of merit that it offers, there is quite a substantial risk that you will in fact end up paying for that underwriting to whatever sum you propose.
Okay, Ms. Gilbert, could we, I'll take the questions in a minute now. Could you just, for the sake of other councillors here, refresh everybody of what Council has done in the last couple of events for the Flying Proms, please?
Right. So in the past, Council has received applications from the group that does this. If we take you back to the 2009 event, Council was asked to act as the event underwriter based on a budget that showed a likely shortfall of $17,000, and Council eventually resolved to underwrite that to the maximum of $20,000 and had to pay that. A prior event by essentially the same outfit, though operating under different names, it was the Taupo Air Show in 2004, which Council underwrote, and again they didn't meet their basically their passenger expectations. They didn't get the attendance that they had hoped for, and that cost Council about $40,000. And there have been other events that Council's been involved in underwriting that have also led to shortfalls that have cost quite a bit of money, and the example given here would be the Easter 2002 Super 12 rugby game, Sharks versus Chiefs. And there were some problems around ticket pricing there. Actually, it was all before my time. I don't remember any of this. But anyway, there was a shortfall of $60,000. So I just need to alert you to the fact that underwriting is not without risk.
So I'll open it up for questions, but I think really the annual plan process is the correct place that this sort of thing belongs in. And I think in the annual plan process in the next year, this council, us as a collective group, need to set a budget for the year and address all these events through that budget. However, that's moving everything forward. We are where we are. It is what it is. And here's the agenda item. So I'll open up for questions. And I think it started with Councillor Mincher.
Yeah, just more of a statement, Mayor Rick, that I did work at the previous event, and I think they just get a bit optimistic about their numbers. And even here, we're seeing numbers in front of 6,000. They expect a $10,000 shortfall. Reality in this market, I don't think we're going to receive anything like that. So we can almost be guaranteed that it is going to cost us $10,000 if we sign that off. I don't think there's any way up for it. As much as it was a fantastic event and spectacular, I think we're just pretty much providing a check.
My question relates to what the community benefit of previous exercises were. Like, how many tickets were sold?
We're on my page here, aren't they?
It's roughly 2,000.
Page 10 bar 1.
Okay.
Page 10 bar 1 is 2008, 800 people, 2009, 2,000 people, 2011, 3,500 people.
Okay.
To break even, they need 8,000. Councillor Page, did you have your hand up before?
Yeah, I did. What I'm asking is that I hate to sort of go on about how long I've been sort of getting money for events, but I've been a regular applicant to the council. As I understand it, and I believe it was in the annual plan or one of the plans, that you only give money for seeding events. Am I right there, Your Worship?
I don't know if that's 100% carved in stone, but when it was approved by the previous council, which Councillor Downer, Councillor Hickling and I were part of, my understanding would have been when we approved it in the past that it was for seeding event, yes, but this is gone past that stage.
Ongoing, you see.
Oh, and we did, and I'm sure my two fellow councillors still here would agree with me that we never approved it in previous years on the presumption that we were setting a precedent that we were going to do it every year.
That's
and
right.
My other two councillors can speak for themselves on that.
Otherwise, I think, Your Worship, that we could be up for all sorts of things that people plan to run at a loss. I mean, this looks like here, what have I underlined here? is likely shortfall of over $17,000. Well, that shouldn't happen. You shouldn't plan for a shortfall. You should actually plan for a profit after having seeding money for the previous events that are on. I don't like to knock Air Show because I went to it and I found it good, apart from it was freezing cold. You remember last year? But there must be a policy, surely, for this. It's like an event like all the other events we have. There are exceptions.
We do have a policy, it's called the annual plan process,
Yeah.
and this is not in our annual plan process, but being as its governance, you can always approve unbudgeted expenditure should you wish to. But yes, I alluded to that before, there's an annual plan process, and I personally believe that we should have a budget, and that should be our budget for the year for all our events, and we're going to be addressing that in the new year so that we're acting in a more business-like manner. But as I said, this is what it is, and these people have come to us and asked. And before we discuss it too much further, I just want to point out that we're not a bunch of meanies. At the end of the day, even with the likes of flying proms next year, we do give in kind rather than money. Things like emptying all the rubbish tins the day after, mowing the lawns, stuff like that. We do put a lot of input into these things that aren't actually money, but they're in kind. Is that right, Mr. CEO? So, Councillor Williams.
I support it as a wonderful event, but there's a lot of concepts out there, and I think as a council that are fantastic. But I think as a council we have to be very careful setting us, or be a very dangerous precedent to set ourselves up for meeting the shortfalls of events where, as both Councillor Crate and Councillor Mitchell pointed out, they're actually projecting a loss. And they should have been peddling their bikes much earlier to get that sponsorship and funding in place. And I regret to say this, but I think that's really where it finishes with me. They haven't done their planning and put all their all these marbles in place, and therefore I think maybe they'll have to look to. If they're relying on this funding, they'll have to look to maybe putting their event out so that it can be secure and have a long-term future rather than continuously running at a shortfall.
Yeah, thank you, Rick. I think it's been really unfortunate. I've been to both the times when this event's been on, and it has been a quite an attractive event. But both days have been bitterly cold. Both days. It's just unfortunate. And I think personally they tried to do too much, because it started like 2 o'clock in the afternoon and finished at something like 9 o'clock at night. But I think that we shouldn't deal with one-off. We should wait till the annual plan, so we've got different applications and we can make a judgment decision on whether we support or whether we don't. So I think it should be moved to the annual plan. Let's discuss it with all the other events that we're going to try and support, and there will be more. I assume there'll be more events come forward through the annual plan process.
Well, at least in the annual plan process, hopefully next year we can sit down and allocate an amount of money, and then use that amount of money when these situations come up, as they come up. You know what I'm saying? Well, I think of what I'm saying. Councillor Kirk?
Just with the site costs, who actually owns the land that the event is held on?
Well, the airport, we do.
We do. So
we lease it to them.
Right, at $3,000.
Rental.
Yeah.
Yep. Per annum. For the airfield.
Yeah.
It's the old aerodrome.
Maintenance.
Councillor Anderson?
Yeah, I just concur mostly with what people are saying, but I think the fundamental thing is what's the benefit to the ratepayer of this event, and I think from past history it appears that, and what's been proposed here, that the wider benefits haven't been demonstrated, so I see it as an event of minority interest, and I'm personally quite shocked that previously this has been funded to the extent that it has, given that, and I think therefore the place for it to be decided is in the annual plan process, because then it can be put to the wider community who are supposedly benefiting from this, we're told, and they can decide whether they actually want to fund it based on whether it is a benefit in their minds to the wider community.
Well, a lot of hard-working people have done a lot of work to put these flying proms on, and I really do feel for them. They've done it 2 years in a row. I'm only repeating what Councillor Hickling has said. I think the weather has sort of been a real hindrance to them in both occasions. However, there was a big pyrotechnic display at the end of it now. I just wonder if whether they're trying to do too much. I don't know, but I'm also very, very mindful in the back of my mind that we have done a lot over 2 years, over two periods. And I'm also very, very mindful, and I'm sure you guys are mindful too. We've got some big budget realigning to do in the new year. So the agenda items here, and sometimes it's extremely sad to say no, but what are we going to do? Suggested resolutions are that the Council declines to underwrite the 2011 Taupo flying proms, or that it agrees to underwrite the Taupo flying proms to a maximum amount of $10,000 subject to the following conditions. Personally, I think that we should help in kind, the way the Chief Executive Officer has mentioned, which was their rubbish tins, because we can lift the council fees at the dump and stuff like that. We have the equipment to help them to do the lawn mowing, the rubbish and rubbish collection, and I think there was an issue of some toilets, mobile toilets or something.
I don't have the details, but yeah. I mean, I'm always...
but I mean, I as Mayor, and I'm sure you guys will be happy that the Chief Executive Officer continues to act in good faith along those lines. And I personally believe, and I'm sorry to say this, that in this particular instance, this particular year, we have to decline. Any further discussion? Councillor Mincher.
Just on the underwriting, Eric, it sort of says if we underwrite it, we take control of the event. If you read the fine print, so it says, we're then permitted to detail a marketing plan and thing, which means we throw out the fireworks and we do this, that. I think that sort of just throws it in a short time frame. It throws too much onto us. It's not our concern. They've come with their plan, so I don't see that we should underwrite it and then have to review the whole thing for them. I don't see the point.
Councillor Williams, sorry.
Yes, I just want to make the point that I think it's a very worthwhile event, and I don't think the numbers really speak for themselves. And I wearing my Erupt Lake Taupo Arts Festival hat, we're prepared to promote them in any way we can. We've got a database of more than 4,000 people that we can put this out, but I have to say with regret that I think it would be irresponsible for us to underwrite them, but we can I guess all of us can try and help them in any way we can, and it is a very good event, and they've put something very good together. It's just I think needs refining, and it needs to be far more robust financially.
Well, I agree with you, Councillor Williams, and I too wear two hats, and in my other hat on the outside world, I've already committed to taking a corporate tent, and I will continue to carry on that commitment I have with the flying proms and entertain my clients there. But at the moment, we're wearing our councillor hats. Yeah, so unfortunately, I've got my councillor hat.
Well, personally, Mayor Rick, I'd perhaps like to defer it until the annual plan process, because then we can deal with all the applications together.
The annual plan process is after this event. This event is in January.
Yes. Holiday weekend.
So if we're deferring it after then, it's a bit like I promise you a cheque's in the mail.
yeah, okay.
So, a mover.
Perhaps we can just add, I mean, this is going to shatter them, of course, but if they hold them every year,
No,
I think
it's every 2 years.
Oh, okay, so it's every two, yeah.
No,
I was
it's
going to
every
say,
2
we could add a rider to say we might look favourably at one every 3 years, I think it's 2 years.
No, it's every 2 years.
Yeah.
So let's not forget, this doesn't mean it's not going ahead, and it is a fantastic event.
Yeah.
It's just where the cost is apportioned, and going the previous ones as well, there's a lot of rich guys flying around that sky that are part of it, and $10,000 some of those people is not a hell of a lot. And so instead of us saying to the community we're willing to back it, sometimes the pockets have to be dug somewhere else. So that's what I look at it. So it's hard for us to sort of say to the community, well, we're going to throw $10,000. It's a bit like, America's Cup thing, throwing the money at that. I don't think the public was too happy we spent all that money. We didn't personally, but the government's threw $30 million. It's a similar sort of concept as the rich guys are flying around and wanting our money.
One other thing I'd just raise, I'm not an expert in these things, but would it be, has it been looked into, or would it make more sense to perhaps look to hold this event as part of or associated with other events that are on when there's people around?
That, I could say to comment, if that was what I'm involved with this,
Yeah.
it must be like, I would be working there again, possibly. But sometimes that's what happens, they go too far and they've tried to turn this event into something bigger than that, whereas it's catering towards, how can I put it, like they want to have a wine and food festival, but people are going to see planes and music. So then how much wine and food do you think you're going to sell as part of that? It's you can go too far with some events. You've just got to line it up, and that's where, who really cares about a fireworks display? I know that's that's just the finale at the end, well, a $5,000 finale, Rob. So you sort of, as we've talked
There's
earlier,
a time and place for everything. A fireworks display is November the 5th.
Or January. Yeah.
I'd just like it recorded that I think it's a really worthwhile event as well, and it is with regret that I don't think we should outright it.
Okay, well, there's a resolution here that Council declines to underwrite the 2011 Taupo Flying Pond, or that we do. So can I have a mover or second for one of these resolutions, please? Councillor Minister.
I would move that Council declines to underwrite the 2011 Taupo Flying Ponds.
So moved, with regret, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Councillor Henderson. All in favour? Aye. So carried. Also regretful for me too, and I still hope it goes ahead. And as I said before, I'll be attending and I'll be buying a corporate tent and what have you, but as a councillor, like my fellow councillors around the table, I think that was extremely prudent and wise decision, considering you're acting on behalf of ratepayers.